It takes a lot to impress Gordon Ramsay, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Need proof? Check out these stellar dishes that met his famously high standards. Gordon Ramsay rarely professes his love for something he has served on Kitchen Nightmares. There have been certain occasions on which Ramsay likes some of the food, or even just one dish, though the praise usually gets lost in his contempt for everything else he has to eat. Case in point, Morgan's in Liverpool, England, which served the long-suffering chef prawns that he called hard, disgusting bullets, followed by a huge dish of overpriced stodge. For dessert, however, Ramsay got sticky toffee pudding, which, against all odds, he actually liked.
For the first time this evening. I'm glad to be here.
Ramsay called the dish light and not too sticky, then proceeded to backhand the compliment by noting that the chef who made it probably wasn't the same one who dreamed of putting apricots in the mashed potatoes. Ironically, footage caught the chef at Morgan's saying that the sticky toffee pudding was so bad that it shouldn't even be on the menu. And notably, that chef wasn't the one who made the dessert. He might have been slightly embarrassed to hear it was the only thing Ramsay actually liked. Remember when people used to say, never trust a skinny chef? Well, Gordon Ramsay began Season 1, Episode 3 of Kitchen Nightmares by fat-shaming the Mixing Bowl Eatery's manager. So apparently that adage doesn't apply to everyone who works in the restaurant business. And even that was only barely worse than what he had to say about the food. On its menu, the Mixing Bowl Eatery declared its crab cakes award-winning. Ramsay didn't exactly agree with that assessment when he tried them, but he did say they were at least fresh. And because Ramsay can't really compliment something without then roasting something else, he made sure to add a caveat about how he wasn't expecting to be served anything fresh in such a dreary room. After the meal, Ramsay visited the kitchen and praised the crab cakes as the best part of the meal.
The crab cakes were good.
Thanks.
Yes. That was the high point.
He then went on to complain that everything else he ate was very average. Perhaps tellingly, the crab cakes didn't end up starring on the Mixing Bowl Eatery's revamped menu. Instead, the restaurant reinvented itself as a place to eat healthy food. It's sometimes hard to fathom why a restaurant would voluntarily subject itself to Gordon Ramsay's unfiltered criticism on Kitchen Nightmares. Some owners seem so confused when Ramsay lists all their problems, as if they genuinely expected him to declare them geniuses. So when Ramsay likes a dish, it's at least a small win. But in one case, Ramsay's praise ends up being a huge kick in the pants, because it's actually aimed at a different restaurant. La Galleria 33 was the restaurant world's version of a TV spin-off. It was launched by two sisters whose parents owned L'Osteria Ristorante, a successful eatery in the same Boston neighborhood. The sisters must have thought some of the success of their parents' restaurant would work its way into their new venture, but it did not. Enter Ramsay. La Galleria 33's issues were obvious by the time Ramsay finished his meal.
It's solid. Almost like a golf ball.
La Galleria 33's chef even admitted to preparing and freezing items in advance, claiming it's better to serve frozen food than rotten food. After the meal, Ramsay wanted dessert, but the restaurant was out, so he sent the busboy down the street to L'Osteria. He returned with the sister's mom and some tiramisu. Ramsay called it amazing.
Bellissimo. Huh? Delicious.
Oh my God.
Ouch. Omi Hopper became internet famous before she was TV famous. In 2020, she made a name for herself by posting her family's Puerto Rican dishes on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Every internet famous person gets a few mean comments here and there, of course. And maybe Hopper thought the wildlands of the internet would harden her against the meanest chef of all. Whatever her logic, she quickly signed up for Season 2 of Next Level Chef. It turns out she didn't need to worry. Gordon Ramsay liked a lot of her food. His biggest compliment, though, came after the baking challenge in Episode 12. Hopper made Buñuelos, a fried, then baked choux pastry with a coconut crema filling and wild berry sauce. Ramsay praised the dish as visually beautiful and compared it to something you might see on a dessert cart in a fancy hotel. Ramsay was also pleased with the flavor, and the dessert ended up saving her from elimination. But the big moment came as she was headed back to the lounge and Ramsay called after her.
Omi,
Yes, chef.
can I have the recipe, please?
Yes, chef.
Now, it's one thing for Ramsay to like your food and another for him to ask for the recipe. Hopper didn't go on to win the season, but that kind of praise is career building all by itself. The internet is rife with culinary train wrecks, and you would not imagine that big, important TV chefs would spend a lot of time sifting through the horrors in search of the rare gems. But one pandemic-era recipe became so famous that there was no escaping it, no matter who you were. Yes, it turns out that even Gordon Ramsay was not immune to the omnipresence of the feta cheese pasta fad. In an interview with People magazine, he praised baked feta pasta for helping people survive the pandemic, though he most certainly meant mentally, not nutritionally. He added, "I love that stuff." In case you're totally unaware, the internet was first introduced to baked feta pasta in 2019 by Finnish food blogger Jenni Haaranen. Uunifestapasta is not traditionally Finnish, by the way. It's something Haaranen said she came up with. The viral recipe gained traction during the peak of the pandemic and actually caused feta cheese to sell out at some grocery stores. Ramsay not only called Uunifestapasta magnetizing, he also said it was inspirational to see people come up with simple, inexpensive recipe ideas that millions of people get excited about. Compliments don't get much warmer than that, especially from Gordon Ramsay.